up? What's up, Shawnee? What's going on? Why?
Hey, what's up, man? What's up, man? Appreciate you for filling in.
No problem, brother. No problem, man. Good to see you, man. Good to see you, brother. How the family doing, man?
Man, they doing good, man. They doing good. Little one in there watching the tablet right now, so we'll see how long she'll give me to be on here before she come busting in the door.
All right, man. Hey, listen, bro. Man, it's a lot that happened, man. I don't even know where you want to start, bro. I got everything ready to go as far as the video with Shannon responding. I got the tweet ready to pull it up. Whatever you want to do, man. Whatever you want to do, how you want to do it, bro.
Yeah, man. We might as well get to the big story early, and then hopefully, if we have any time left, we can try to get to some the big college football games that happened that same weekend.
Right.
But yeah, we could start with the whole Damar Hamlin injury. I was watching the game, and it was just a routine tackle, and he got up, and next thing you know, you just seen him fall back. And I was like, now when the injury actually happened, I think something caught my attention, so I missed it.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the play, and then I looked away from the TV, and next thing you know, they stopped gameplay because of an injury. And I believe like a series or two prior to that one, there was another injury. So when at the time the Hamlin injury happened, they was just giving an update on the status of the other injured player. What's up, Dante?
What's going on, man? What's going on?
No,
Black
I'm
man,
just
what's going on,
kicking
brother?
it off with this Hamlin injury, and so yeah, I saw him when I saw they was giving an update on the player prior to Hamlin, and then next thing you know, so I rewound it. I'm like, damn, what happened? And then that's when I actually seen it in full. Hamlin when he, passed out or collapsed on the field. So yeah, it was a scary injury. Unfortunately, if you watch football over the years, you don't necessarily see them pass out like that, but you see these major injuries. So you see major injuries, players on both sides come and, kind of start kneeling or kind of surround the player. We see the paramedics or the trainers working on the player. And normally, if it's a serious injury, normally they'll put them on a stretcher, but they put them on a cart. And a lot of times, as they getting carted out, you see the player show some type of response. They give a thumbs up. They seem like they, I believe even with the Ryan Shazier injury, he was responsive. And that was a big major injury. I believe he was responsive on his way off the field. So that's what they look for, But with Hamlin, he was never responsive. And then it was serious when they brought the ambulance on the field. They're like, oh, damn, man, this is super serious. So, when they they put him on the ambulance and took him off the field, now the unknown is sitting there. And, I remember watching the broadcast. I don't know if it was a mistake or somebody, cause I remember ESPN saying that, during the break that NFL was giving them 5 minutes. And then later, I remember when Troy Vincent was doing interviews, he said, "No, that's false. We never gave them 5 minutes. We was just letting the head coaches talk to each other, and I believe it was some official on the field with them. They was staying in constant communication on what each team wants to do, the players and whatnot. So all is said and done, they temporarily suspended the game. Both teams went in the locker room. And I really believe, I guess, if Hamlin would have shown some responsiveness, they would have stayed on the sideline, collected themselves, and went back to playing. But on the simple fact that he was not responsive, so their mind was off the field and on Hamlin. They say, "Nah, man, we can't play like this. We don't know the status." And there's reports to this day that he's improving, but it's kind of like it's still kind of murky. I say you don't know exactly. It's not like he's up and alert. So still to this very hour, I believe he's still in critical condition, just stable. So yeah. So I don't blame, not even say blame. I don't fault the game for being postponed. Now to the main topic that caused a whole big hoopla and whatnot was the Skip Bayless tweet. And I remember when everything popped off, the injury, the players waiting on the field at first, and then ultimately going into the locker room, and when they said it was temporarily suspended, so ultimately we not coming back on the field no more. The game is basically is done. I remember just a thought in my head, after your thoughts or whatnot about Hamlin, I was like, okay, me watching and following the game, I was curious how would this impact the rest of the NFL schedule, because it just happened. It's week 17. There's only one more week before the game. Prior to the game, there was a big I guess boost up and whatnot of the game, because it was two elite teams going after each other. And they both got its stake in the game, and then ultimately after the injury, and because it happened so early in the game, it completely made the game irrelevant. And basically, that was, and I'm pretty sure I probably wasn't the only one thinking that at the time, because your mind was on Hamlin, but then you was also thinking about, okay, what's going to happen now? How, because you don't want the NFL to punish these two teams by giving them a loss because they didn't play the game, basically. So you're trying to figure out what's going to happen with the seeding and whatnot. Keep curious. And it looks like, from what the tweet looked like from Skip Bayless, it looked like that's what his mindset was at. There you go. As I was reading this, I'm like, okay, it kind of goes on the same thought that I was curious about. He's asking, if the NFL considered postponing the game, but how, and because of how late it is in the season, and now this game is irrelevant because of the injury. So, basically, it's a big state of unknown because this has never happened before. Usually it's a major injury, and a lot of times the games go on. And we don't see the game get just flat out canceled or just postponed and not even playing. It's not. I don't even know if it's officially canceled right now or still in the state of postponement. So that's what I was getting at when I was reading this tweet. And then you see all the backlash coming back from him, like he was being insensitive and all that. I'm like, damn, man. I'm like, is this insensitive, or is it the fact that I guess people was really wanting everybody's thoughts, and I guess in this case tweets, to be 100% dedicated to Hamlin, meaning every word of your tweet is to be saying, praying for you, Hamlin, get well soon, Hamlin, anything. If you're thinking about just a thought about the NFL and what it potentially is going to do, you're going to be demonized for it. In this case, 'cause I remember before all of this, when ESPN was doing their coverage, I think even before this tweet even came out, they brought up the facts about, they touched on it real quick about, what the NFL may do, as results of this game. They brought it up real quick and then went back to Hamlin. And I guess when you're on video, it's easy for you to add some type of context to it, to whatever point you're making. And with Twitter, basically whatever you put out there, people gonna use their own assumptions based on, you can't. There's no context.
140 characters. It's hard to have context.
Exactly, it's hard, and it turned out.
Don't help.
It turned out though he had a whole. If you know Skip Bayless on big games, he's gonna put out multiple tweets, chronicle the games as it goes on, and he had a whole other couple of tweets even before this one. And there was one tweet, I think the one right before this one, it was, I guess, the more appropriate that people was looking for, where he was basically praying for Hamlin and all that, basically in the same realm that everybody else was doing it. But Skip Bayless, doing what he always do, he would continue to, post about whatever game he watching, especially if it's a big one. And then that post came out, So yeah, to me, because the thought did go in my head about, I was curious, after your initial thoughts about Hamlin, and then you was curious about
it. I'll put the other tweets up there for you too. These are the other tweets.
Okay, yeah. So this the one, and I believe, and I don't even have a Twitter account, but you can just Google it. I believe this main tweet, it was like over 150 million views. I'm like, damn, Skip. I mean, everybody saw this.
Yeah, they was dragging him, boy. They was dragging
everybody.
him.
So a quick Google search, you'll see them boys dragging him.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you put them other two up on there.
Yeah, that was that one. And then I got the other one. Hold on just a second.
All right, there we go. And I think this was there's like a series of 4 tweets. And I believe this was his first one. And then there was a tweet after this. And then the main tweet that got everybody's attention. So, and I believe it. Do you have the other tweet as well?
Yeah.
I believe that the next tweet is when he was, offering prayers and whatnot for Hamlin. But regardless of that point, it was just, usually as social media does, and Skip, as real, Skip is not the most, favorable dude out there. People don't really have, they don't really care too much about Skip because of his own doing and what he says, and it's really all about sports opinions. Really, that's when it all comes down to it. Dude don't really say nothing wrong about anything else. It's just his sports opinions, and people got a real strong, feelings towards him and his sports opinions. And it's just they took out that one tweet and completely left everything alone. So you look at that one tweet and think that was the main tweet that he sent out there when it really wasn't. He had a whole other tweets, like right here. This tweet was before the big tweet, but this was completely ignored, and it just went to the big tweet. So I was like, oh hell yeah, and I guess that's just because of his reputation.
The rep.
Yeah,
it's the rep, and it's the fact that for media people, especially here in the like me and Shawnee, and in the Metroplex, like the fact of what he's done. Like I was trying to rehash it so I could have it on memory and have the notes of it for the show. What he's pissed off major people in the Dallas-Fort Worth media. And, he's crapped on people to get to where he's at. It doesn't matter. And like the fact that what he said about Troy Aikman, who's like a king here, and the gay insinuation that he made in his book, and it was only 6 pages of the book. But in the 90s, talking about like the star quarterback insinuating that he was gay, like, nah, bro, that he knew what that was gonna do, but it took him to places where he wanted to go, but at the cost of burning bridges. Mm-hmm. The thing that he did with Dak Prescott, questioning his manliness when he was talking about the suicide. Like, bro, if there's anything to get behind, suicide, mental health, this is the era, read the room. I think this was a case of we want to get him. And they took the one tweet, put it everywhere. Let's go after him. Let's crap on Skip Bayless. The only thing is, Fox probably don't mind because it's all about ratings. And they know he's going to get box office. Well, not box office because his ratings, I heard, aren't always that great. But that's going to get attention. It's going to get streamed. It's going to get shared. And that's what you get with Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless turned the media game into, hey, here's your opinion. Here's my opinion. We're going to fight about it. And here's what he's turned it into. But at the same time, he turned it into this with this tweet. And it's like, I saw somebody on Facebook be like, man, this is selective outrage. And I read the tweet and I was like, it is selective outrage. But I don't F with Skip Bayless. So I'm like, I'm not going to save him. I appreciate Shiny coming in and being real subjective and real straightforward, real in the middle. Because you're right about it. And if you look at it, it's right. He followed the tweets up. The only critique you could probably say is if he puts this tweet first and then the other ones, everybody probably not tripping. Only thing people will still say, like Shani mentioned, the NFL doesn't matter. This man collapsed. This man was fighting for his life. The game and stuff is irrelevant. Like, it's basically put the whole NFL weekend kind of in jeopardy and clouded, but I do think that you should just give both teams a tie. And if they're mentally able to play on Sunday, let them play on Sunday. If they're not mentally ready to play on Sunday, extend, nobody. I heard somebody mention when I was listening to 105.3, no bye week. Just no bye week for the Super Bowl, the week before the Super Bowl. Take that week out, extend it a week, and then start the playoffs, a week later, and just push everything back. Because, it's the Super Bowl. Who's ever hosting, they can push whatever they got going back at that stadium. What's most important is, and especially the NFL, who is not sensitive to these issues, is by having it come so long. What's going on, Khalid? Appreciate you checking out, bro. But just the fact of they took so long. People were complaining about them taking too long to cancel the game. So it's a real sensitive subject. It's really sensitive. So, I see people getting pissed off at Skip. I really see people getting mad at Skip. But it's like, if you take a step back and just take a breath, you can calm down and say, okay, maybe it wasn't as bad as I initially thought. But I don't blame Shannon Sharpe for not showing up that next day. Let that man take all that heat.
Yep. Have you seen the response video from Shannon?
I saw it one time when he got upset that he cut him off.
Yeah, don't worry, I got it.
I think once he, how old is Skip? Skip is like pushing 70.
Is he?
Yeah,
I think when Shannon made that comment about taking it down, Skip pretty much he will throw something on that social media and he will leave it up there, and no matter how much heat he get. And the thing about it, I was thinking, like I mentioned earlier, that tweet already got like over 150 million views at the time I saw it. Yeah, he might as well keep it up. Everybody saw it now.
We all were wrong about his age. Skip Bayless is 71 years old.
Yeah, okay. I knew he was up there, but he in good shape, so he don't look like
he run marathons and all type of shit. Yeah,
he'll brag about it too.
Damn. That's wild. Like, I saw a little bit of it, but
it's just a matter of time before he can say Shannon nigga. Because let me tell you something. When they got into it 2 weeks ago, and he said he was about to tell Shannon, put your fucking glasses back on. He was about to say that, and you can hear him catching him. So he said, put your glasses back on. Like you. And I'm thinking, man, you 71 years old, man. Shannon can spit on you and kill you. I mean, you can't roll with Shannon, bro. If you piss him off.
Nah, it's really the ultimate power play to be like, you can't do it. You can't do it. And it's one of them, like, I understand professionalism, but sometimes I don't care for the show anyway. I want him to just put his hands on him. Like, because it's like, bro, you're crossing the line of disrespect. And like, what was it? Kevin Samuels said it once. He was just like, we having a conversation as men, there is a line because it could get physical. And we don't go past that line. Skip Bayless steps all over it. And it's just like, as a man, bro, you're not going to respect your fellow co-hosts that you made that, you had a career before this, but it was kind of like when it came over here, a whole nother level. Like, you going to just disrespect him like that? Like, nah.
And Skip done had run-ins with Richard Sherman. He done had run-ins with Chris Bosh,
Jalen
Rose. What's the defensive player for the Ravens? Big boy. Damn it. He got into it with him really bad.
Terrell Suggs.
Yeah, there you go, Suggs. There you go. He got into it with him really bad. So Skip, man, he been outrageous for a long time, bro.
And it sucks. That's his game. He wants you to pay attention. That's why, like, when he made the Dak stuff, I was like, I'm not gonna pay, because like I'll pay attention to Shannon Sharpe on the tweets and on the little short clips, and when he's going in, especially when it's like about LeBron, I'll pay attention and I'll be like, man, he got to go in on him. But it's just like sometimes I'm like, if it's something negative like this, I was like, I'm gonna try my best not to pay attention. Like I was like the reaction that he did the whole show, I was like, nah. When Shannon come back, I'll give it some attention.
Exactly right.
It's like
same thing. Yeah.
I don't want to give homie no shine because it's like we gotta get that out of media. Like, and the next one we got coming up now, it's not him, and it's on a small level, and so on troll level is Shady McCoy. He just be talking himself all into ditches on some wild stuff, but that's the game.
And I'm gonna tell you something, bro. It used to be Skip Bayless was the man, right? And the show can't go on without Skip. But it's looking now that the show can't go on without Shannon, bro. I guarantee you, if you go look at the ratings when Shannon didn't show up yesterday, they dropped.
Yeah.
Everybody coming to see Unc, man. Everybody coming to see him with the Lakers jersey on, with his guns out, with the goat mask on. You know, he always got props and stuff. I mean, I think Skip need him more than he needs Skip.
Yeah, and everybody, and like, look, man, everybody loves somebody that's gonna rap on the Cowboys. I'm not gonna lie, and especially if it's funny, and the way he does it, you can get somebody else to be the pro Cowboy person. You can find that, but you find and I do think, in my personal opinion, ex-players that played when the Cowboys was really moving, they really have a disdain because they saw it here, and then they saw the fall, and it's like, damn, y'all still love them? So, like, yeah, it's a certain different feel that ex-players, especially great ones, have. You can find, like, another dynamic to find Skip. Like you said, he's 71. You can just usher him on out, and he can go do a little podcast and be on his own. Shannon got a couple more years, really, of good prime years to really do it, especially the shape. We talk about shape, the shape that he's in.
Man.
He going to be able to keep doing this thing. You
Monster, bro.
He got, like he said, what was it? When he just saw his I loved it when his grandchild was born on the same day as LeBron. He was going crazy.
Yeah, man.
Man, look about Skip. Skip, he's got some skin in the game as far as, I guess what you call him, a journalist or a columnist. He knows what he's talking about, but because of his opinions, and I guess he don't have a Mitchell jersey because he be repping that 71.
I need that Mitchell jersey.
Yeah, he got that Kyrie. Kyrie, he didn't really.
Right. And speaking of Donovan, man, I can't believe they drug tested that cat, bro.
It happens a lot of times when you see players make these big time performances and whatnot. You know, for whatever reason, the very next day, in the case of Donovan, it wasn't even 24 hours. They called him to that office, man. Hey, man, send him a drug test. We're gonna have to check him real quick.
Yep.
Right.
If you guys are watching right now, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and share this with 2 people if you can. Also, listen, if you're just coming in right now, we're discussing the Damar Hamlin situation, going over Skip Bayless tweets. So I see a lot of you guys, I'm looking at the numbers, a lot of you guys just popped in here. So we won't mind going back over those tweets with you guys to show you the tweets that started everything. And then we'll show you the response of Uncle Shannon, Uncle Shay responding back to old Skip Bayless. I'll go ahead and pull the first. Which tweet you want to bring up first, Johnny?
Let's go in chronological order. Let's start with the first one. So the first one I forgot, because the big one, that's actually the third one.
Okay.
The second one I know was the prayer one. So just start from the first one. Just gonna make our way down.
Okay, let's go to the prayer one first. Okay, let me see. Considering. Okay, let's go to the prayer. I think this one is right here. Okay, here it is. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. All right, there we go.
Yeah, and this was, I guess, the tweet that was on scope with, of course he put a little bit more details, but for the most part, the gist of it was on scope of what everybody else on social media was doing for Hamlin. He put the details in the beginning and then say a prayer for him and the family. And that's what pretty much majority, I guess, what was favored on social media. They wanted something like that and then leave it alone. But again, if you know Skip, during big games, he puts stuff on social media multiple times. It's just like he's thinking out loud. So he puts this one out, and then backdoors it with the tweet that gets all the attention, but the tweet that got all of the attention is the one that looked like it was plucked out of these series of tweets. And this tweet, nor the one before actual this one, it doesn't get mentioned. It's just looking like, so it looks like straight from the get go, the NFL tweet is the one that, so it's
Was this the second one?
That's actually the second one. The first one, it really don't really matter with the first one. This, I believe, this is actually the second one. The third one is the big tweet.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I guess so. It made it look like that was the first thing that came out that he put out on social media, while everybody was sending well wishes for Hamlin. Yeah. While everybody was sending well wishes for Hamlin, it looked like this one he worried about the NFL, what they're gonna do with postponing games. So I guess that's how social media do. And like we just said, because of Skip's reputation, they don't really care about the dude anyway. So they will take out something that they can use against him, and they'll demonize him for that. And he had to, like I mentioned earlier in the show, me myself, like when everything happened and you went through the initial thoughts about Hamlin, I was curious about, okay, how this is going to look like for the NFL. You going to give these two teams a tie. I hope they don't give them a loss because you don't want to punish the teams because they wasn't able to finish the game because of a horrible injury. So me watching the game, I was curious about this particular point that he made. So he brought up, like, NFL considering postponing the game, but how? Because it's so late in the season, only one more week left. And the game was really pumped up before the game, like pretty much all weekend. And then the game happened, and then it ended. So, because of that injury, it made the game irrelevant as far as everything that was leading up to that game. It made all that irrelevant because now we all worried about the injury. We all care about the injury. So I was curious, about the same thing, like how the fallout going to be. It's not like you putting Hamlin's wishes and on the back burner or anything like that. I guess because I don't go out and put it on social media like Skip does. He put his thoughts out there, and people gonna judge him for his thoughts. And even though when I read it, I didn't get that from him. I was getting what I was curious about as I was watching the game and all the, I don't want to say press conference, but the post game, the broadcast, the coverage that they was doing since the injury happened, and ESPN for the most part for the next 36 hours, that's all they was talking about. So that was my thoughts on it.
So what's your thoughts, Tyrus?
This is Shawnee pretty much said a lot of what I was thinking. And I think it gets to the big picture of this is the danger of live tweeting during games, guys. Like this, especially if you got a huge platform, boy, some thoughts that come through your head shouldn't be put in black and white, aka your mouth. You know what I mean? Like this is again, obviously, thankfully, this young man didn't die, but this is along the lines of speaking ill of the dead. You get what I mean? Along that lines of respect right now. And I got to say, man, I thought it was powerful. I had spoken to DL about this. I think it was powerful on Shannon's part to not show up yesterday, because I think that was the first real time Skip ever felt real repercussions of his actions. Because we got to remember, and Shawnee knows this, Skip don't follow anybody. He doesn't live tweet back to anybody. He does no fan engagement on social media. It's just straight him. He'll post whatever and then just walk away. That's always been him. Shannon Sharpe is complete opposite. He'll engage. He'll go back and forth with the fans and everything like that. And so it was really telling. And then even this morning, when they got into it, first thing in the morning on Undisputed, man, it's Skip eating this one right now. And yeah, deservingly so. But thank God this young man looks like at least slowly progressing. But Hey, no news is good news in case like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
All right.
man.
Go
So,
ahead, Dante. Then after you done, we'll play the video of Shannon and him today.
Tyrus, like you were saying, man, it goes back to Carm Edwards. Don't press in. He said that years ago. Don't press in. Like I can't tell you how many times. I'm not no big figure or nothing like that, but I just don't want nothing forever out there that looks terrible. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna edit it. I'm gonna do everything I can and be like, all right, that's my thought. That's my thought, and I edit it, and for social media type of way. You have to you can't just go through exactly here to here.
Right.
But Skip Bayless does that. And I did want to ask, I see somebody in the chat, and I appreciate y'all commenting. I see Orlando, you put, but you don't postpone a game, though. And I'm like, man, do you not see that this man, like, this is football overtime has been really macho and had, negative things about it and hasn't been very sensitive. Like, literally, we used to have the video games where they used to bring the ambulance card out. And the NFL said, hey, can we take that out of the game? Can we take stuff out of the game? Can we do things to make it look like we give a damn? In this situation, you got to read the room, and you do have to postpone that game because if you look at, they had a clip of Josh Allen, or was it Josh Allen or I think it was Joe Burrow, and they couldn't play the game.
And that gets to the heart of why this game needed to be postponed because we've all played sports, so put our perspective through the minds of a football player. Everybody on that field is seeing real time what fans and us on TV didn't understand. This man had to get his heart stopped twice. He got resuscitated twice. They all saw that real time. They teammate on the ground being worked on. Medical staff trying to save this brother's life. Ain't nobody playing football after that. You can't. You know what I mean? And I think when in a life or death situation like that, in that situation, man, I wish the game would have got cut off earlier, not just to save Skip Bayless, but to save a lot of people from maybe pressing send like he was talking about. You know what I mean?
And I brought up the point earlier, Tyrus, about unfortunately in football, as you watch it over the years, you see major injuries like that. I brought the point about Ryan Shazier. You see major injuries, but a lot of times, whether a lot of times they end up getting carted. Even they put them like on a stretcher or whatever. They just cart them off the field. But they always seem to be responsive as they're going off the field. So them being responsive, it puts the players in a better mindset. Okay, they recalibrate themselves and get ready to go back out there on the field and play the game. This one was just so different because barely, I don't even know how responsive he is to this very second. He was not responsive the whole time. So yeah, but and then when they went back to the locker room, I'm pretty sure they were just waiting to hear back from the hospital. Somebody, okay, he's turned the corner. We got him back responsive, whatnot, but it never happened. So when that's why you kept seeing like the coaches talking to each other. You saw the NFL officials talking to the coaches and all of this, and the NFL. From what Troy Vincent was saying, it was the NFL front office, DeMaurice Smith of the NFLPA, the coach of two coaches and another official over there. They were just all in communication, and the players was just like, man, we not gonna do this, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, okay. I don't blame you.
Not at all.
All right, so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and play the Uncle Shay Shay trying to discuss why he didn't come to work yesterday and how it made him feel, and Skip being Skip being Skip had something else to say, man. Had to cut him off. Here we go. Hold on, let me get it pulled up. Hold on, guys. Just a second. Oh, there we go.
All the things, and I know Shawnee feels me on this.
Hey, yeah, hold
All
on
the
one
things
second. Tarus, hold on one second. Because somebody just messaged me and said we got half the video kind of started on. Play it one more time, guys. And DL Saint is in the building tonight. What's going on, my brother?
What's good, fam? How y'all feeling?
All right, so let me go ahead and hit it one more time, man. Uncle Shay Shay and Skip.
guys, of all the things he could have doubled down on, really, you can't even so much as take the tweet down, bro. And then you're gonna double down on that on live fucking television. And then did anybody check what Shannon said? Well, clearly the bosses.
Like
thank you, Dante.
That's clear
You
point
that.
to stand down. That's clear point to stand down. He
that
said
means
the
they
bosses.
already had in pre-programming. They told him, Skip, don't. The producers probably had to do everything possible to get Shannon to show up this morning. And one of the contingencies was, Skip, shut the fuck up.
It's unbelievable.
Hey, man, you know, you got an old dude like Skip, man, like dudes with their little energy, man. He's tone deaf, bro. The fact that he sent the tweet at the time that he sent it shows how tone deaf he is. And then he's in the studio, it's like, bro, just don't say nothing. Let Shannon say what he got to say. Wait, you know what I mean? And he couldn't even do that. So we were talking about this yesterday, bro. That duo might be over.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't this a layup to walk back, guys? Easy, just fire off another tweet and walk this back.
My whole thing about it when I saw the tweet this morning, I think it already had like 150 million plus views. So I guess he was like, you know, just like when you mentioned, you brought the point with Skip, he'll post anything and don't give a damn who. He ain't gonna go back and forth with you. Yeah. So it's the same thing. He'll post it and he will stand by his tweet. He'll leave it up there. If you see it, obviously a lot of people did, because it's not like he's gonna care what you say about him. You know, I mean.
But
I remember
Shawnee,
before he
always
left
possesses
ESPN.
his love for the game, Shawnee. You know what I mean? So you think somebody who loves football, like he says he loves football, this would be a layup or, you know, proverbial.
It's ridiculous to be like, even if you in your heart of hearts, like if you ain't learned that by now, he's never gonna learn it. If you haven't learned that as a man, even if you feel like you are right, if everyone else is, you know, a loud uproar, especially as a public figure, feel like you're wrong, walk it back, make an apology, just simply walk it back. And even if in your mind, right after you get offset, like, man, I was right anyway, even if you feel that way, you need to at least convey some, you know, just something that shows that you give a damn. But it's like he doesn't care. He's just out there outright with it. And, you know, I don't blame Shannon. Like you said, they probably had to beg him to come today. Because it still has the sports world like in a chokehold. Like, you was holding up the Cavs jersey. I had a sports page and I was just like, look, man, I didn't want it to take away from Hamlin, but I was like, to brighten us up, let's talk about a dude that dropped 71. Giannis dropped a double nickel last night. Nickel and just like some crazy Clay. I think the same night, didn't Clay hit like 50 something in a double overtime? Like crazy stuff.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy shit going on. And nobody. Skip.
Hey, bro, like, you know, you got to understand, like, I'm one of those type dudes that I'm not, I enjoy sports, of course, but I ain't heavy into it like you brothers. Like, I can't run the stats. Like, when some people run stats or whatever, I don't watch basketball until after the All-Star break. I'll watch anybody play football. I watch the female football league. I love football. You know what I mean? They be out there trying to hit or whatever. That shit be hilarious. I'm like, you know, they like junior high level. You know what I mean? Like, they out there doing their little thing. But still, I just love football. Baseball, I got to be playing. I can't watch it. You know what I mean? But this thing right here, you know, I watched that game live. I watched that hit live. I'm sitting there watching it, obviously. You know what I mean? And I'd never seen anything like it at the pro level, at the NFL level. And everybody, the way that they kept cutting away at the network, they kept cutting away. They come back to Cincinnati. No one had nothing to say. They were like, they knew that it was CPR going on the field. They knew that in the booth. They knew, like, hey, this guy might not be with us anymore. We just need to go back to a commercial. And they just kept cutting away. Every time they came back, it was like even worse. Third time they came back, both benches were empty. The entire benches on both sides were empty, and they were all surrounding the ambulance and you know what I mean, everything that was going on. And right away, I was like, man, they ain't gonna play no more football. I'm not gonna tweet that. You know what I mean? I went and started a live when I was saying how they should not be playing and how this is just a game and it's athletic. It's not like a war. You know what I mean? Being a guy who's been, you know what I mean? I'm a soldier. I used to be a soldier. So it's like, yeah, bro, we used to seeing people fall, but it's a football game. You know what I mean? Like, we ain't gonna sit here, watch a brother fall on the football field, and then we're gonna come right back out here and start playing. Why? Right. You know what I mean? And Skip didn't know that.
But that's what's crazy. It's like, if he would have fired this off on his show Monday morning, nobody would have said a word.
It'd have been a good conversation.
Then he would have actually been saying what everybody's thinking. How they gonna handle this game now?
Yeah.
At that time, bro.
I think if this game was a Sunday game, I don't think it, because it was like a perfect storm. It was a Monday night game. It was the only game, so it had a whole lot of attention. It had even attention of people and media, you know, that probably wouldn't pay attention if it was like a Sunday, even at a Sunday 3:00 game. But since it was the main one on primetime TV early in the game, so it wasn't in the middle game, it was early in the game, and it happened. And I remember, though, the same thing you brought up, BSN, about when they kept coming back, while it was doing that, ESPN, because it was Adam Scheffler and Booger McFarland, and of course Susie Colbert. Real quick, they did brought up or asked the question, how would the NFL go about, you know, what's going to happen after this? They brought it up real quick, and then hurried went back to Hamlin, because, you know, all thoughts at the time was about Hamlin. So when I initially saw that tweet from Skip, I'm like, well, he's kind of asking what I just heard on ESPN, and I believe when that tweet started snowballing, I believe they was asking questions, the same thing to Troy Aikman and Joe Buck at the same time. So I'm seeing it, I'm like, people jumping down, but I'm watching it on TV going at the same time. But thing about it, it's Skip reputation. I guess it's a tweet. And like we already said, like, he tweeted a couple of tweets before that, but it got omitted. They just plucked this one out. And I'm like, well, dude.
And you know what? You right, bro. I did notice that they inadvertently did not talk about the two tweets leading up to it, or however many it was, when he was saying it, that this was definitely said. And he was, you know, I'm praying for the family. I'm praying for, brother Damar. I'm praying for the family, right? They didn't show that. They just went right to because when I saw it, I'm like, ooh, that looks bad, bro. You know what I mean? Completely tone deaf. But he should have been wise enough to know that he shouldn't be doing that. He knows who he is. You know what I mean? Not to tie this to Andrew Tate, but Andrew Tate is always out there being loud, right? He know he being loud. So the minute something go wrong,
wouldn't you even agree, though, even if he made the mistake with the tweet and he doubles down on social media, at least for the partner sitting across the desk for you, do the right thing. And on live TV, you couldn't even do that.
He was all wrong. And this now we getting into like maybe it's an age thing. You know what I mean? They cut different. He's from a different world growing up. He's y'all know how Hollywood works, right? When you on set and you the top dog, you the top dog. So he ain't used to sitting down playing second fiddle to nobody. Right? And so there's a lot of that going on. But here's the thing, like, should he be fired? What y'all think should happen to the brother?
They're not gonna fire him. 100% they're not gonna fire him. Because they know if they fired him, ESPN would have him back in a heartbeat, and they would put him back with Stephen A. It wouldn't be the ink wouldn't even be, the contract would be signed right after he got fired. That it would be one of those deals to where like they done reached through back channels and already got feelers and everything like that. So they wouldn't do that, and Fox is always trying to get there because Fox is built off of regional networks. They're trying to get their national network as much shine as they can. That's why they went and stole Cowherd. So they would do it in a heartbeat. So they know they can't do that. They know that Shannon already has the other projects in place, and they're building his brand. And he's not even just interviewing athletes, he's interviewing entertainers and stuff. So it's just like they know they're at the point that they could separate them, and they're gonna make sure that they're gonna cover their own ass. That's what Fox is going to do 100%. But the pair. I even had a buddy text me. He texted me. It was just like, I don't think this is gonna go on too much longer. Now I know they got the playoffs and the Super Bowl coming up. I wouldn't be surprised because it kind of another sports law happens where All-Star break. Don't be surprised. All-Star break, we get a bunch of fill-ins. They're gonna do the whole thing where, like, remember on Martin, where it was like you will see Martin in one episode, then you will see Gina in one episode. You're gonna see a bunch of that. You're gonna see a bunch of that. And y'all know, real ones know.
Me personally, I don't think he should be fired because I don't think he technically did anything wrong as much as distasteful. So basically, as far as the media, basically, if they feel like, because it's no different to how I think I remember when Stephen A. Smith kind of rubbed some people, because really just a backlash. I don't even know if the media, if their respective stations really believe that they did anything wrong. But if they get a whole lot of negative backlash, hey man, just go ahead and apologize. Let's ease this over, and we move on from it. We'll just move on from it. And that's I guess that's what they was trying to do with him yesterday when he was just up there by himself, like Will Smith in the last episode of Fresh Prince. He just left him up there by himself. But I guess when Sharpe came back, opened the monologue, and it was that comment he made about Skip taking it down. Skip, like you said, he's stuck in his age. He ain't gonna take nothing down. And that's when they came to back and forth. But as far as firing, I don't think we'll be firing this because I understand about the whole distasteful thing, and it just depends on, because like I mentioned earlier, I was curious about what was the end game going to be from this. But as far as if he fired or whatnot, it's like it would be like something from the cancel culture. And I'm like, oh no, because then now anybody can just lose their job just because it's a backlash. Even if you don't do technically anything wrong, it'll just some deem it, distasteful. Just go up there and say your apology. You're gonna deal with the backlash regardless. Just say your apology so you and the network can move forward.
And let me ask y'all this question, man. I don't know if y'all covered this already, but the game didn't get played. Right now, we both know the Buffalo and Cincinnati are sure ends into the playoffs. But it's a matter of the toss up with the seeds. How is that going to play up? Because there's organizations out there whose future in this season depending on the outcome of that game.
Yeah. I think you do it when the players, like for example, like if again I'm not an NFL player, but if I was, I'm probably with my bros thinking we're not ready to play this game until our brother wakes up.
That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. And I think you brothers know what I'm getting at.
That's the only time that game's going to get played and it's going to get figured out, though.
But that's the thing. Is it? How are you going to do that? Go ahead, bro. I'm just curious what y'all got to say about it.
What I was going to say is this, and it's, colleague, man, you made a really good point about him bashing. I left the fact out because I don't pay attention to Skip as much. He does bash a lot of brothers that are really great and critical of them, and then on the other counterparts, not always so much. It comes a little light. But in regards to what you were saying about the game, Patrick Mahomes has never played a road playoff game. If they give them both ties, you can look back at this and do a 30 for 30 about how this injury happened. He ended up going back to another Super Bowl because it's hard to play in Kansas City because you gave them both ties. And it's like you're stuck with that. But
what's the current season right now between them? Real quick.
The Bills are the top dog, but if the Cincinnati wins, they would have wins over both them and Kansas City. They're top dog.
Yeah,
and we was finna get in that ass prior. Oh, I'm sorry, prior to that injury, boy. We was getting in that ass, but go ahead.
No, I'm biased.
That's what's tough.
I think if the Chiefs win next week, they'll be 14-3, while Buffalo will be 13-3. But Buffalo, when they played each other, Buffalo beat Kansas City.
So they get the tiebreaker.
Cincinnati beat.
Well, that's what you would think. That's how that's what because technically KC will have the better record percentage-wise because they played one more game, 13-3 compared to 14-3. But so they will get the bump. But if you go back and say, okay, we already know what happened why you only have 13 wins. So if we go head to head, Buffalo will have the bump. So the thing about it is, if they don't do that, if they just say, man, we're just going to play the season that is, that game, you might as well forget about it. And you still going to make the playoffs. But now, Buffalo will ultimately, if they make it that far, will ultimately have to go to Kansas City to play, potentially an AFC Championship game or a playoff game, instead of the other way around.
But
And
think
Do you
about
then,
guys
it.
think that's the fairest tie? Like, do you guys think that would be the fairest tiebreaker though? Because these three teams, they've all played each other, so we got
Yeah.
head-to-head matchups. You know what I
But here's
mean?
the
And
thing,
then
though.
you're
Let's
like,
go
okay,
further down the seed. Let's go further down the seed. What does this mean for Pittsburgh? What does this mean for Baltimore? Pittsburgh and Baltimore both beat Cincinnati once. Cincinnati beat Kansas City once, and Buffalo beat Kansas City, right?
Yeah.
So what does it mean for further down the seeding? You see what I'm saying? This is kind of really messed up for the NFL. It's a problem, right?
since he already
Yeah.
locked up the division, right?
No.
yeah,
No.
No?
If Buffalo had beat Cincinnati, then the following week is Cincinnati and Baltimore, and the winner of that game would clinch.
Yeah.
So one
So
will
if they
become the
don't play
wild
this
card.
game, then whoever wins between Cincy and Baltimore should get the home game. You get
Why?
the title.
I mean, why? This is so tight. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like,
The thing is, the AFC is coming down to the last week. The NFC, for the most part, it's already solved, but all the drama is there, and that's another thing where Shawnee was saying a lot of people. Another layer to it. So many eyeballs on it. Most companies reserve New Year's Day on Monday, so you were already off. You can stay up a little late. You can watch the game. You were watching a great Cotton Bowl before that, which is a historic comeback.
ooh,
Like,
boy.
man,
I didn't see that coming.
I did
That
not see it
safety?
coming
and
at
I
all.
and I know how serious this topic is, but unfortunately, because of the injury, it completely
Yeah.
watched over an excellent weekend of college football.
Excellent weekend. I mean, I'm talking about, man, here, I didn't know, I'm obviously a Fort Worth native. Man, to see TCU, the little school, like when they put that 12,000 students up against Michigan's 55, and I was just like, hey, man, that's wild that they won, and then they got disrespected and the underdogs against Georgia. Just everything that happened is just all on this. And it's like, and my thing is rightfully so, we should, because I heard a story that Dominique Foxworth, who's really good, he was saying once he played at Maryland. He played a couple of years in the league. He said when he was at Maryland, he had a teammate airlifted during practice. He said, man, they moved him 15 yards down and kept practicing. And it's just like that. He said multiple stories of that. That's football. We see extreme violence, wild things happen. Let's get back together. Let's huddle up. And then they go back and keep playing. I was glad for the culture of football to be like, this is one goddamn time, man. Let's stop this. Like, I'll be honest. We almost an hour to the show before we talked about the ramifications of the playoffs and everything like that, because that man deserves that. Like, nobody goes out there thinking. Like people, like I saw somebody in the chat say something, and it was just like, yeah.
And it looked like such a routine hit, guys.
Yeah,
oh man,
you're going out there and something could happen, but you're not expecting CPR. I haven't seen it. My boy was like in the chat, did y'all see what's going on with Hamlin? And I was like, I don't know. By the time I turned it on, props to ESPN for that. They was boogering and was talking, and I was like, oh, this is bad. As soon as I said this is bad, I said they are not showing football. Something happened, and I was just like, yo. And I'm trying my best to not see it.
If they didn't have the defib on the field, right? That defibrillator, that technology is fairly new. If they didn't have that on the field, this would be a completely different conversation, brothers.
It'll be really different.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, thankfully, one of the positive things we can say is that this brother had access to the best healthcare on the planet at the time when he needed it the most.
Yeah,
because those are the best trained professionals on the planet.
Yes,
right there on the sideline. Thank God for that. You know what I mean?
Speaking of healthcare, I like the clips and the awareness. I appreciate from anybody that's being on point with the clips they're showing right now. The clip is going around of Warren Sapp talking about how 5 years after you entered the NFL, he said, 5 years, I went into the Hall of Fame. 5 years, my health insurance stopped. And I was just like, that's something that, as a guy that had a father that was in a union, that's stuff that I'm really interested in. Like, yeah, I love the sport, but I love them guys. These brothers look like me, and they come from situations where we're probably worse than mine or same as mine. I want them to have a successful life if they're making their own billions of dollars. And so healthcare is something that definitely needs to be brought up in this conversation, that, hey, it shouldn't just be because Hamlin almost died on the field that the NFL floats him and covers him for life. it's a lot of guys. Once you become a vested veteran, hey man, you need to be covered because who's gonna cover you? That you went
Yeah,
out here
because we're
and you
talking
ran.
long-term impacts
Yes.
that he's going to feel from
Yes,
this.
yes, like
You
that's
know what I mean?
hey man.
And Tyrus, to go to a point that you brought up real quick about the hit, the actual hit. Yeah, it was a routine hit. It wasn't because normally you expecting a helmet to helmet, the way
Right.
he collapsed, something like that nature. But it was a routine hit. But I remember yesterday on First Take when ESPN pretty much the whole day all they was talking about was the injury, and Bart Scott was on First Take. Stephen A. directly asked them because Bart he brought up a point about how the NFL, over the pretty much the past decade plus, has been really trying to clean up, trying to take away the helmet hits and all that. And there's one also type of hit they're trying to take away. A lot of times it's like when as far as the offensive player, when they kind of lower their head and kind of ram. And a lot of times you see that from running backs, especially when they're going through the hole, because you know how they make themselves smaller, cover the ball, but their head is down and they just run it, just run it through. So
Shawnee, here's a perfect example to what you're talking about. I forgot when we drafted in 2012 or 2013. The Browns drafted Trent Richardson, and in his first game, he trucked his Philadelphia Eagles linebacker and did exactly what you did. At the time, it was allowed. The running backs led with their head first and knocked the helmet to helmet. Nope, that wasn't a flag. That needs to be checked.
But here's the thing, though.
That's what they were saying about T. Higgins. The refs they call helmet to helmet, but that offensive trucking, I guess within this rule, this handbook that the NFL has when it comes, it's in there, but it's not necessarily enforced during the game. T. Higgins, he kind of, and you really you got to be careful because you definitely don't want to make it look like it's T. Higgins' fault by any means. He was just, he kind of looked like he delivered kind of the blow, or he just leaned into Hamlin. And that's all it looked like. It didn't look like it was just that bad. But that's what Bart Scott was mentioning. But all of a sudden, with him saying that, now social media is attacking Bart Scott because they trying to paint it like Bart Scott was saying in some way or fashion T. Higgins was responsible for it. I'm
like he intentionally meant that or something.
Bart Scott says a lot of dumb stuff. Don't get him for that. Like don't do that to him, man.
So, but here's the thing: we talk about football. And we're talking about protecting the heads and all that. That was a routine tackle by a professional safety on a wideout. T. Higgins did exactly what any one of us would have done on any football field, being amateur, pro, or otherwise. You're gonna lower your shoulder, lower your head, you fight for those couple extra yards, right? That's all he was doing. It was a fluke hit to his heart. Now, if you were watching the Ohio State Georgia game, right, when you saw Marvin Harrison get rocks, he got rocked in the end zone, and they immediately called targeting, and then they looked at it, and it was a clean hit. It was a clean hit. They had to pick the flag up like it was a clean hit. Yeah. You know what I mean? But and then Marvin couldn't play anymore. Rightly so. You tell he was done. You know what I mean? So they're trying their best to make a very dangerous sport safe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At some point, it's either you're gonna let us, either play or not play. Someone is gonna get hurt. Someone is gonna lose their life. Not get hurt, but lose their life. We've already seen paralysis and stuff like that.
Remember, we had to enforce. They used the refs to enforce the rules so that defenders weren't leading with their heads. To make this comparison, they need to enforce the rule that Shawnee's talking about, so that offensive players cannot lead with their helmet.
You can make that rule. My point being, you can make that rule, but all you got to do is look at that hit. Look at that Ohio State game. Look at that Ohio State Georgia game. That was a vicious hit. That was a hit. I was like, whoa. But he didn't lead with the helmet. It was all shoulder. It was just a great timed hit. That's you still gonna get rocks.
Yeah, the violence is gonna happen. But what they do need to do, and I've seen a lot of defenders say this, we know offense drives the numbers in fantasy football. Like, you ain't out here trying to draft the fantasy defense in the first round. You trying to draft Justin Jefferson. You know what I'm saying? That's why you got people mad about, people bitching about their fantasy leagues because, this happened. Well, I don't care. We're talking about life. But overall, as far as player to player, you do have to protect the defensive guys too. You got to protect them so that they can have careers, so they can feed their families, because you only get a small window. Quarterback,
and that's the problem I have. And that's the thing that I'm gonna have to. I hope I'm not overemphasizing this, Shawnee, but to emphasize the point with the offensive players in the helmet, because again, it's a dangerous game, but they made the defenders swap up anyway. They enforced it until the defenders learned over time. It only took a season for them to get used to the new rule, right? Not leading with the helmet. Well, guess what? They could take these offensive players. They could take a whole season to get used to not leading with the helmet when they engage. And
it took way longer. Tarus, it took way longer than that. It took way longer than that.
It took guys. It took them eliminating guys like the guys that we love. Like some people, it's tough because I get into this fight of both sides because at heart I'm an offensive guy. But we have eliminated guys like James Harrison to the world. What's the linebacker that always is getting kicked out of games? Used to be
Perfect.
Our dude. Jesus. We have eliminated Devontae Burficts from the game of football. Those guys now cannot. You can't exist. And that element of the game, while it was fun, those guys, we know how they end up. You know what I'm saying? Like it took me to learn what was the guys from Jim McMahon when he said that he could drop his kid off at school and could get back home. And I was like, that's when I started to know, like, hey, they gotta change something. And they had, but it's still gonna be vicious. This guy literally got hit. Like I saw somebody tweet it out, and I'm not gonna put the cape on for like let your sons play football, guy. But he was just like, yeah, this game is too dangerous. My son can't play football. And I was just like, I haven't seen the hit, but it's been described by people that watch football. It was a routine hit, but it was a free thing. Now, what I did do is I saw a doctor that said, hey, this was a condition that happens. Normally, the peak age is a 17-year-old. My brother's 17, and it happens in football and basketball. It takes a lot of charges. I immediately sent him that article and was like, hey. And he was like, that was crazy. And I was like, yeah, I just thought you should know. Because it's kind of like we always going to attack football. But the thing is, people are going to continue to play. Because it's one of those things where it is a fun game, but it is a game with some danger. Like I know my wife told me, when my son, who was 11 months, when he in a couple of years, when he's ready to go, she was like, I need you to coach him because we sat way before he was born. We watched concussion, and I was just like, yeah, this is real. This is how it happens.
You put it fresh in my mind.
What do you say?
Because I was just thinking about because remember the offensive players, they're allowed to remember the defense grab your face mask. That's a flag.
Yeah.
But then when you see these running backs be doing all this right here, all up in the face, that's what I'm talking about. DL, like, hold up. If we're gonna say this game's violent, then we gotta. Guess what? If the defenders can't leave with their head, the offensive players can't leave with their head. If the running backs could do this with their face mask, guess what? Myles Garrett should be able to do. Politely hand Mason Rudolph his helmet back. That's what he should do.
So, but here's the thing, though, bro. Like, it takes generations to make these changes, man. Like, when you talk to the real old dudes, like, I'm an old dude, but when you talk to the real old dudes, you know what the offensive linemen used to do and what the linebackers used to do to your offensive linemen? They would smack them in their helmet, bro. Yep. As hard as they could, man. And that was legal. And dudes got so much they got so much damage from that, bro. Like, you see him smack a man in his helmet and the dude be, like, almost knocked out. They would do it all the time. I think LT was notorious for that. You know what I mean? Like Lawrence Taylor back in the day. I
learned that from Deacon Jones, watching him in the clip. Like, man, first my pops, all them old players. He was like, look how this and that game used to be played. Like, them dudes was vicious. Like, it was, like, basically the left tackle position got high paid because of Lawrence Taylor. Like, I never get my dad telling me about, like he destroyed Joe Theismann's career. And I was like, yeah, because YouTube wasn't really a thing. But then when I saw Blindside, I was like, damn, he wasn't lying. He destroyed that man. And I was like,
could y'all imagine if we had social media back when football in the 70s and 80s, bro? Oh my God.
I'm glad it didn't exist, and I kind of wish it wasn't as big as it is now. It's just because, we're talking about sports now, but this has impact on just the whole society as a whole. I mean, I'm like, come on, man.
Enough.
Me personally, I think it's almost damn near more negative than positive nowadays. So it's just, I mean, even when it just come down to the young folks today and they socializing skills, I'm like, damn, man. I mean, it's just a whole lot of negativity on it. So,
but see, Shawnee, we just got to get these guys updated information. Like, for example, I told my daughters and they friends. Since we
Before you
live
do
in a
that, bro,
global-
I gotta go. I'm helping Mandrell out tonight on this show, and I gotta go prep. Fellas, thanks for having me on. Shawnee,
Appreciate it, stop by,
Dante,
dude. Appreciate
thanks for
it,
having
man.
me on, man.
Appreciate it, bro.
Peace.
And to the chat, peace to the chat, man. I'll holler at y'all later, man. Peace.
All right, man.
So like one of the things I teach my daughters and I tell some of her friends, and I think it would be good for our young men especially,
Hey, Charlie.
since we know we live in a global society and a global communication, let's tell our kids who already got phones, hey, don't be texting or just call. Hey, put that FaceTime up, put that messenger up. That way you're still getting that social interaction because guess what?
Mhm.
We're seeing each other, we see each other's facial expressions, those little monetary, the body movement, the changes. That's what these children are missing because of social media. When if we just encourage, hey, the more video stuff, you can still get those interactions just digitally. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's just a lot of we got to get used to just catching up with the technology we got today, man. We'll be all right though.
What you said, Poppy, man, you called us too late, bro. We're literally closing thoughts and wrapping up, bro. And we know if we bring you on, bro, we're gonna have to have Mandrell show on and that. So we
It'll
gotta
go in
get this
overtime
next week,
again.
bro. They're gonna be overtime, but man, Tarus, I appreciate you checking us out, man. Black man, I appreciate you holding me down, but why I could come in late. I see you repping those Cavs. I know we shutting it down, so my final thought, basically, I'm gonna have more next week. But hey, man, I'm hoping TCU pulls that upset, man. That's all I got for y'all, man. But you know, we gotta make way. Wow. So, Shotty, man, we out of here this week, man. Next week, I mean, I'm pretty sure we'll have a resolution to the situation. Hopefully, we got good news about Hamlin. We're still praying for him. So, I appreciate y'all checking us out. Everybody in the chat, Tarus,
Hey, thanks for inviting me, guys.
Always,
Appreciate
man.
y'all.